Alright, we're going to see if I can actually pay attention to the clock this time and stop this before I run out of time. I can only do 10-minute intervals. So, last we were discussing, I would like to do a good overview. We were talking about having these things actually fire you. Oh yeah, I'm going to point out that we're going to have to work on this later too eventually. Right now, as long as I hit spacebar, and even though I'm disappeared, you're still kind of playing. So later on, we'll talk about like game state and how to change to the game state of the machine. Because currently, basically, the only game state you have is playing, and you can play even though you've died. It's not realistic, so we'll work on it later, though. Last time we were working on making this fire function, right? So we were working on making something that allowed the enemy fighters to fire back at you. So what you're going to have to do, just because it is kind of weird, you're going to need to pass the information of each fighter jet to a function. This is going to be the function fire, and we're going to make another some form of laser. I'm probably just going to do a red dot, but I'm going to build the function first. So let's see. You're going to need a variable. If you guys haven't made variables yet, here it is. Make variables in data. So we're just going to name this one X position, but for short X pause, and Y position for short Y pause. And we're going to end up setting these things. Oh, come on. Sets. Oh, actually, no, that's all good. And X position. You want to set these to the actual X and Y position of the specific clone. So you're going to put X position and Y position. They're located here in motion. And we're going to put this, I'm trying to think if it would be better. I think we're just going to put this in its own little when flag click so that way you don't have too many clones coming out. Or when I start as a clone. Just because otherwise you're going to have too many of these wait 1 second things. And it's going to slow down your game. So wait 1 second. I try to avoid parallel programs running, but sometimes you need it. So you're going to wait 1 second and then fire this object. Now, what object? We haven't created anything. And we're going to put a little create clone right underneath here in a few seconds. But we haven't created anything. So we need to actually paint. I'm going to paint one. I told you it's just going to be a silly red dot. You guys, if you want, you can get all fancy and actually find a laser. I feel like in the original game it was just a red dot of some form. So a little circle right there. Maybe we'll try to get a little fancy. Put a little yellow circle in there too. Oh, I can't see. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. Alright, that's better. So, let's fill that with red on the outside, yellow on the inside. Just looks like a silly fireball almost, but you could probably make a better laser than this, but that's just my laser. So, actually, let's name this again. So, I remember naming it. If I go back over here, we're going to hit I, and we're going to name this laser, or let's name it enemy laser. Just for good habits, you guys should probably name your sprites. All these are named ridiculous names. Some of them are a little better because I've actually used them more than once, and they've started to bug me. So we're going back here. So you actually want to create a clone of this laser, correct? Yes. So you can create a clone similar to this one where you press spacebar and it fired and made a clone of this one. I'm being so distinct, aren't I? So your main fighter jet, right? We look at this again. When you hit spacebar, it creates a clone of the laser. So it's going to be very similar. So basically, create a clone not of yourself, but of enemy laser. And then enemy laser is going to actually get some code, because otherwise, similar to when you just made it, like if I were to play this game, they're not making clones. Let me check. Let me check why they're not making clones. Wait, no, that's there. So let's see, create a clone. Oh, I see why. Alright, that's really simple and kind of annoying. Because I actually haven't added the code here. So you actually need to add in this go to this X position and Y position, right? And we named X and Y position for a reason. So you're not going to go crazy. I'm going to keep testing this just because I like constantly testing this. Okay. So you're going to see it's totally putting them in the wrong spot for now because they're completely ending up everywhere. And that's fine because we haven't actually made them do anything 100% yet. Let me just make sure this is also... Oh, and also, I've done this a lot, and maybe you noticed this already. Ha ha ha, it's kind of funny. This should be... Oh, sorry. This should be X. This should be Y. Happens sometimes, so I was wondering why they were kind of... So now if I run this... So there you go. now you're actually putting them in the right spots. So now the lasers are going in the right spots. This is why I constantly test my code. I never know when I make a silly mistake like that. And yeah, this one's easy to fix, but you never know when it's harder. So another thing we're adding to is point ports. Just because we are going to be cheap, we're going to point them exactly towards you. That's real fair, right? And then similar to, we're going to go with this whole forever concept. A lot of code you'll see is very similar. Honestly, I wish you could sometimes, in real programming, you can extend a lot of classes. So this could be a laser class, but you can't extend here, which is kind of annoying. You can sometimes make clones that have similar code, but for now we can't extend. So similar to the whole if touching, you're going to say if touching the fighter jet, you're going to delete it. And we're using a lot of code that's the same. I wish we could not do that sometimes. So, and then again, that wait 0 seconds. And then same thing here. So we've got this explosion function. So right now it just says if touching the enemy fighter, but let's also add this OR function that lets it be if touching the laser as well. Or if touching, right here, that laser. That enemy laser. Okay, so now, when I run this, you'll actually, oh, they're not moving. Why aren't they moving? Let me see. Go to X position, Y position. Point towards the fighter jet. Change Y by. Let's see this again. They seem to not be moving, and then they seem to be moving in the wrong direction. And sometimes you make the simplest mistakes. So yeah, I was struggling with why aren't these going in the right direction. Then I realized, oh, they're not actually, they weren't going negative, and it's stupid. I didn't see that. Alright, so now they're going way too fast, and they don't delete again. So let's also add in that or. Sometimes I feel like I just write the same code over and over again. So if it's less than, we're just gonna try to speed through this. This is one of the nice things about not syntax coding. It takes forever sometimes for me to find what I want. So now if I run this, so they're shooting at me. They kind of, there we go, they're deleting. I'm kind of confused because they should be pointing towards me and moving towards me. I want them constantly pointing towards me whenever they show up. They should be. Anyways, that works. So now you've got the basic game working, actually. From here, of course, you can add things like points. So when this laser touches that fighter jet, you can, let's add a score variable. So you can set score to 0 when you start this game, but change score by 1 when this happens. Also, I'm noticing that this also needs an OR statement that checks your position. So when it's bigger than, so unlike the other one, you're actually going to check if it's bigger than 160 versus less than negative 160. Go in there. Thank you. So now, if we check this game, now they're hiding, which is strange. Oh, 160. I'm not having good luck with those negatives and positives, am I? So, somewhere the score is getting set. Oh, I am ridiculous. Gosh, I am not on the ball today. I'm resetting the score every time, and I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. Alright. Now we still have this issue where you can fire when the game is over, so I'm going to show you quickly basically how to fix this. So let's have a game over function. So we're going to set a variable called game over. It's really common that programmers use zeros and ones for trues and false. So you're going to set your game over to 0. That means 0 basically means false, essentially, in our programming language. 1 means true. So your game over, the way I like to think about it, is it's currently false. But when you explode, game over is true, so you set that to 1. So now let's make a game over function, but let's not name it 100% like the variable, because that is also game over state. That is also just bad form, and if you were using a compiler or an IDE, would say, hey, you're using this name somewhere else. Why would you do that? That's really confusing. So, game over state, just so you know the difference. We're going to say if game over equals 1. Game over equals 1. We're going to do something like, you can either, one thing you can do is you can switch backgrounds to have a game over screen, but we don't. So for now, I'm just going to stop everything, just as a quick game state finish. So now if we watch this, let's see, actually, I'm just going to blow up. So it stops everything. You can do this a lot of different ways, but for now, I think that's simple, and I really like to leave it up to a lot of people to kind of create their own games. I think it's a good basic start, or a starting point. If you want me to keep going and make this more complicated, I can, but I'll see how popular these films are. I'll also try to do some other films besides just this one. So, anyways, good luck.